Okay, so this is part 2 of our bubbles code. We should be able to get most of it done. When I left, I had it actually backwards. So when I hit right, it goes left. When I hit left, it goes right. Plus, it's not in the right spot. So let's fix that. My key pressed, just going in the wrong way. So if I go plus there and minus here, plus I want my hero to start off a little bit lower. So let's make it 650. Really depends on the frame size. Okay, so right, awesome. Now I'm gonna make a lives counter, so when the bubble hits the hero, it goes down. So let's do that. Let's have hero should have some lives. Int lives equals 4, or let's call it life because it's actually how his health. Maybe we'll call it health then, right? So now what we'll do is when the bubble moves, every bubble is going to check if it hits a hero. So we'll do that right here within the move statement, bubble.move within the move. And it's really nice doing it within the bubble.move because could be 100 bubbles and each one will check if it hits the hero. So that, we have that probably in Raiden. We have some collision code. It's an if statement with 4 conditions, so easier to just copy it. Those are the 4 conditions right there. If ball hits hero. So this is referring to the bubble, right? And this is referring, actually, is that right? That might actually just work because this is if the X, if the X, if the Y, if the Y, right? And it's 4 conditions if it hits each one. So let's just actually see h.lives, h.health equals h.health minus 1. Okay, and let's paint health. We're going to do that in paint. So if we run it, we wouldn't be able to see it. Actually, we can. It might actually. It's good practice. Instead of me painting it and getting all good, let's just see if it works. System. Before we do anything, let's just see if it works. Print one. What are we going to print? Bubble hit a hero. And we could say health is now. And then h.health. So we can just see, okay? So we don't go too far without something before we see that it's actually working. So let's go run. We got an error, problems, syntax. So this is an interesting one, yeah. Okay, so, and this is pretty much half of my job is helping you people with brackets. Notice that we have a class, right? And notice this is the last one, so this is actually the end of the program. And it's giving me a bracket error. And what that leads me to believe is the class above it doesn't end properly. And so it could be public class bubble here. Doesn't end properly. Now that ends that. This bracket, this is the end of the move function, and I ended it before. And so when I put this in, I put it at the wrong spot. And I can actually remind myself end of move function. So that way when I do it, I don't go outside the brackets, right? This is the end of bubble class. So the position of the brackets definitely matter. Let's try again. We're getting close. Syntax error. Gotta put a semicolon. Okay, so now the bubble should know when it hits. So let's try and hit a bubble and see. Oh, bubble hit a hero. Health is now negative. Awesome. And we notice that it hits multiple times. I'll let you solve that or think of a way to solve that. We could, and I'll just do it just because it's pretty neat to see. We could draw a health bar. G.fill rect. Okay, now what is this rect going to look like? Let's see. It is going to be at, let's say 10, 10, because we want it in the top white. It is going to be h.health wide. And it is going to be, let's say 50 wide. So it is the width of the health bar. okay? And that'll generate an error if it's a negative. So let's say if h dot health is greater than 0, right? Or maybe this is a bad, h dot health should never be less than 0. We should protect that, right? If it goes under 0, we should do something. So let's see. Okay, that's my health bar. I obviously messed up. It's going down. Usually health bars go to the right. So I did the height, not the width. And there we go. We now have a health bar in the top right-hand corner. And then the first time it hits, it goes away because it hits multiple times. And so what should I do? Probably when it hits the health, I'm trying to think about what the bubble game does. Does it stop it? I think actually you don't really have a health bar, you have lives. So there's obviously some code that we should do when it hits. What do we actually want to do? But that's a basic simple version right now that we can use. Next we got to make a laser. There is a class laser in our array. Again, we'll take it because it's a good starting point. Let's see what it does. Public class laser. It has its own move. Yeah, that looks about good. So we're going to go again, and this time we'll try not to screw up the brackets. We are going to go after the last class, after hero, but before the end of the program, we're going to paste the laser. Now, the move has to end, and the class has to end. So public class laser, there it is, there it is. There's the move, there's the end of the move. And it generally just goes, it doesn't usually move with an X speed, and it usually goes up, that's why it's negative. It will have to check if it hits something, but actually we'll save that for later. Let's make one laser. And a lot of people will want to make more than one laser, but I'll leave that up for you. Laser L1. Okay, we do have to initialize it or we'll get an error. So we have to initialize it at the top. L1 equals new laser. And lastly, when we hit a button, let's do the space button. No, what's the space button? Space is 32. So when I hit key pressed, if key code is 32, put the laser's X position where the hero is, and put the laser's Y position where the hero is. And it should, I think it moves by itself. Oh, I have to call the move, and we call it in the paint. So let's just say L.move. L1.move. Okay, so it should be going up by default, right? Let's see what my error is. H.x. See what my error is. L, did I call it? I called it L1 because I'm expecting to have more than one laser. Oh, and I don't paint the laser. So it probably is firing, but it's not being painted. So again, let's go back to paint component. G.fill rect. And where's it going to be? Well, it's going to be at L1's X, comma, L1's Y, comma, L1.width, comma, L1.height. Okay, and this is something we would put in a for loop if we would put this whole thing in a for loop if we had more than one laser. Okay, so we're doing good. Now lastly, we're going to do the exact same thing. What do we do if we hit the bubble? Well, first off, we got to find out that we actually hit the bubble. So we're going to do that in its move. Right here, we're going to put the code. So we had collision code here. So if I hit a bubble. Now here's where we actually get to the fun part, right? Because there is more than one bubble, right? There is not just one bubble. And I saw someone do something pretty cool, because what they were doing was they were saying B1, right? And they were going here, not hero, B1. And they were gonna like obviously copy it. They were going to do it, you know, maybe 10 times. How many bubbles do we have? Do it for 1, do it for 2, do it for 3, do it for 4, right? And that'll work. The only problem is if you don't have a fourth bubble, you'll cause an error when you're looking at a fourth bubble that doesn't exist, right? But what's neat about the struggle, and I asked you yesterday to struggle and say try and do it. What's neat about the struggle is you've got the format. That will technically work. But what we need to do is say, we'll do it for every bubble. And when we want to say for, we use a for loop. And I've got that in my code up here, don't I? I have it in the pane, where I say for, I get 0, start at 0, use a list, the list is the list of the bubble, and increment. And then get bubble I out of the array. And so really, this code is the code that we need to do. Inside the laser, we say, for every bubble. Notice this is getting the ith bubble, number I, which is every bubble. Bam. We make sure we bracket it. Sometimes it's good to use it. This is the end of the for loop. Okay, because we don't want to get confused. Now we're saying, instead of the first bubble, notice there's a 1 in there. Well, we need to change that to an I. Bubble, actually, we don't actually have to, because now it just becomes B, because we're taking it out of list.getI. So, what are we doing in this? Just to review. We are making a for loop that goes from 0 to the end of the array. So if the array is 10, it'll go from 0 to 10. And the reason why it does that is it goes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. And using 1, 2, 3, 4, it gets that element out of the array and it calls it B. It's temporarily B. Notice it gets destroyed. Every time we loop, it gets destroyed. And a new B comes out of the array. And we say if the laser's X hits the bubble's B, well, what are we going to do when it hits a bubble? Okay, let's say B.pop. Okay, we don't actually have to do it in here. We can say let the bubble handle itself. Right in here, we can make a pop. Okay, but maybe what I'll probably do is let's say, so maybe I won't do pop because we're right there. We're gonna go list dot remove I. That will remove it from the list. Now we actually want to create 2 more, but let's just see. Oh, it worked. Okay. Now should I show you how to make the next 2? Or should I challenge you to make 1 more bubble? You should be able to figure it out, so I'm actually going to leave it out of this video. What we're going to do is say, when you hit the bubble, notice that we removed it. Well, right here we want to add another bubble that is smaller, going left. Add another bubble that is smaller, going right. Right? And that will create a pop. One that goes to the left, one that goes to the right. You should be able to do that because it's this code up here. It is really just creating a B. Where do we add bubbles? Right here. we don't need a for loop because we don't need to do it 20 times. We just need to do this. We need to make a new bubble and we need to add it. But probably what we need to do is we need to make sure that its x speed, one is going to go to the right. So what's right? Well, to the right is you know, maybe -10, you know, and another one has got to go to the left. So you can figure that out. I'll leave it out as a challenge, but we've got quite a bit going on right now.